Welcome to Enjoy Fort Wayne. This episode is brought to you by the ylnifarmersmarket and highlights the 350 vendors that make up the #1 market in the state of Indiana. Today we're talking to Mitchell Hardy. He is manager at Hardy's Farm Market. It is a 6th-generation farm, and they have been providing produce to the southwest side of Fort Wayne for over 34 years. We will discuss his involvement in the ylni market and how his family participates in the community. So today, Mitchell Hardy will help us enjoy Fort Wayne.
Hey, I'm Mitchell Hardy with Hardy's Farm Market. We are a 6th-generation farm, and we've been doing the produce the last 34 years now.
Okay, so 6 generations. I was actually going to start asking, have you all, like, how long has this been going? But okay, so that's right off the bat, 6 generations. So
6 generations, and we are family owned and operated as still.
So I guess then the first question is, walk us through that first generation. What do you know of that first?
The first generation, I don't know as much. My grandparents, my grandma passed away before I was born.
Okay.
And so then it was, it was her family farm. So I know originally it was a dairy farm, but back then, you pretty much had to do everything on the farm because there was no stores around.
Do you know the year we're talking here?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. We always say that we're going to get into, more research on that, but I'm sure Mom would know. Fortunately, she's not here today to talk about it. So she's back at the farm picking green beans. So.
Working. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's good because you have great products. And so it's good to know someone's working while you're here.
Yep.
Okay. So, well, then let me ask you this. Are your early memories just starting? Are you 6 years old, like doing stuff, or?
So they actually started the year I was born. Originally, I think it was 88. There was a really bad drought in the United States and affected everybody.
In 1988?
1988.
That's the year I moved to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, and so that was a really bad drought for everybody. And so then my parents raised hogs, and then they wanted to, branch out to some other stuff. And that is when they started selling sweet corn at my grandparents' house, which is the farm Mom grew up on. So then that was my first year that I was born, and then it's kind of grown up to the crazy thing it is today.
Yeah, okay, so you were born in 88, and as far as
89.
89.
Yep.
As far as you remember, that was always just a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is first one of the maybe misconceptions right off the bat that people may have that you can say, hey, it's not really like this, but it's like this? Does anything come to mind?
Sometimes people don't realize like the produce part of agriculture. It is all specialty equipment. It's all hand done. A lot of it's done by hand. So we're not always in a tractor going out and doing stuff. We're at the point now where we have been able to afford some of the equipment that does the specialty. We have a transplanter and stuff like that. But originally that's all done by hand. And we are still actual farmers. Some other farmers don't think so because they do corn and soybeans, and that's actual farming.
Oh.
But we're more of the specialty side, and it's not a big garden. It is our livelihood. This is what we do for a living.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is something that maybe walk us through as I'm thinking about this, I was going to say typical day, but does that even exist then? Or can you? No.
We can go through kind of the seasons because we are a 3-season farm as well. So we only take the winter off. Day to day, things change from, now we're open at the farm. So we're working with the customers, and we're open 6 days a week. So we don't even have a day off.
So, okay, it's the summer. We're still in the summer season now. So maybe walk us through maybe what the summer months look like then.
Yeah. So Usually July, that is the middle of July is when we get sweet corn comes in. And so we just started picking that this last week. And so once the sweet corn comes in, and we aim everything else to be ready around the sweet corn.
Okay.
That is our main crop. So we started picking squash and green beans, and the peppers are just about ready. But by August, everything's going, and it's nonstop just picking everything. We do bring in some other stuff at the farm because that is our own business there.
Yeah.
So we bring in like Michigan peaches, and we have Southern Indiana melons right now, that because they're in season. But everything we bring down to the ylni farmers market, we grow ourselves, which we have enough product to do that. So we bring a lot of corn down there, and we grow tomatoes, peppers, all that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that stuff there.
Yeah.
When you said, okay, we're just full blast, how long would you say, like, in my head, I'm thinking like September, October? Is that when that season kind of ends?
So the summer season usually goes through the end of September. Usually, sometimes it stops earlier, but then everyone wants pumpkins and stuff. And so we then have a whole fall market with fall activities. We do after dark hay rides. We then have a fall festival, and then we're open 7 days a week in the fall at the farm, just selling decorative pumpkins and all that stuff. And then we have vegetables until it frosts, but pretty much, it's all just, the winter, going into the fall winter season. And then Halloween is our last day open at the farm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Good to know. Okay. So take me through a little bit of your story with the market. When were you first aware of the market, and was it you that really started it, or was it like your family, like your parents, that started at the ylni farmers market?
So the ylni farmers market, I believe there was one test year that the ylni organization wasn't involved with it.
Yeah.
And then once ylni started it, it was actually me and my sister that went out and found another farmers market to go to.
Okay.
So we were looking to kind of expand, branch out, and my parents have always been encouraging us to, take initiative to expand the business itself.
Sure.
And that's where we got the after dark hay rides and after dark events and the bigger fall market. So we started 19 years ago, and it was just me and my sister going down to Bar Street.
Do you remember how many, roughly give or take, how many vendors were there at that time?
I believe it was just in the courtyard. It was just in the courtyard area. So there really wasn't that many vendors.
Less than 10 or around 10? I mean, you can't
kind
fit.
of. Yeah, it's hard to fit a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either way, the footprint was that, the courtyard. Of
There
the
were no
History Center.
Streets blocked off.
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't anything like that.
Nope. And no food trucks, no alcohol vendors, and not a lot of craft people either, or artists. It was really kind of just small, smaller people. I think there was only 2 or 3 maybe produce people. But at that time, the people who are coming to the farmers market, who is actually going around and trying to start, find an outlet to sell stuff, is farmers. And so there's a few more there, but now that we're so much bigger, we have so many more people there, but usually about the same amount of farmers.
Yeah.
As well.
On this show, we have mostly interviewed people who are much, much newer to the market than what you are. And so we definitely have, I feel like, a set of different questions because you remember what it was like. What can you say about the changes, and was there a point in time, I'm curious, after doing it for, say, I don't know, 2 to 3 to 4 years, was there a point where you're like, okay, I'm a part of something really big? Did it hit you, or did just gradually, maybe after 10 years, you're like, one day it just kind of hit you like, whoa, this has grown really big?
It's hard to say when that actually happened, but we ventured out to go to other markets as well, and none of them panned out. One of them we couldn't even get into. They everyone else just said we couldn't go in, and now unfortunately, we're not there, and so we are a big staple at Bar Street now. So I would think, I don't know, it's probably when I got through high school into college, then I was more interested in the organization part of it, and I volunteered more. So that would have probably been at least 4 or 5 years in. Then I started doing more with the market and getting more of a relationship with the people in charge of it.
Sure.
And so then at that point, then, I would say that's kind of when it was, this is a little bit bigger than what it is. And for a while there, it was, every event, that happen year to year always have their bad times.
Sure.
Or slow times. And we just wrote it out because one of the reasons we went down to Bar Street was advertising. It's our cheapest advertisement is to get in front of people and telling people, oh yeah, we also have another location.
Right.
And so that's the main reason, but now it's actually really, it's worth our time to go down there. So,
right.
Yep.
You touched on something that I wanted to get into as well, because you are one of our volunteers. How did you get started doing that, and what is a typical, I know, that's more winter where you're more on that side of helping out?
So volunteering, it's pretty much the market manager and I have a pretty good relationship where if she needs something, she can ask me and I can either help her or give her a person that would actually help her.
Which, great callback to a previous episode. Ashley Wagner was the first episode that we had. So if you have not seen that episode, go back and put in Ashley Wagner in the search, and you can find out more about the market manager. But yes, Ashley's great.
And so I just pretty much told her I can volunteer more in the winter, and then so I just help her out a lot in the winter compared to the summer, because that's my time off at the farm. I mean, it's not off. We're still working, but I don't have to be in front of consumers and selling my product.
Right.
So
right. I wish you were selling as much corn. I'll eat all the corn.
Yeah. Fortunately, Indiana is not one that has the greatest winters to grow corn. But
exactly. No, I get it. But my stomach doesn't quite understand. So if you could get the memo. Yeah. So yeah, and it's great. I see you in the winter market, just running around helping, and as we're in the newer building, I mean, you were a big part of that too, and that was really cool to go through that on Berry Street there, the old bun factory. So I want to ask you a couple questions, but we got to pay some bills first. We'll be right back. Brewhound Bus is your chance to visit all the scenes you want to check out, from breweries to wineries and nightlife. Book your tour with Brewhound Bus. Go to brewhoundbus.com. Let us pick you up from your house and drop you off home safely. Grab 12 of your friends and bring your own cooler on board. Book your next bachelor or bachelorette party, birthday, or friends night out with Brewhound Bus. Check out the weekday specials as well, only at brewhoundbus.com. Okay, we are back. I'm here with Mitch, and a few more questions that I want to know about. We talked about you being at the market, which is in downtown Fort Wayne, and I want to talk a little bit about Fort Wayne in general as well. As you've seen this development, what is something that you are excited about the development of Fort Wayne? What is something that is a plus that you see, in your opinion, regarding Fort Wayne as opposed to even 20 years ago?
That one is an interesting question. I grew up in Huntington, but I pretty much have my roots in Fort Wayne because I've been up here every summer.
Of course.
And then as I become more part of the business, it's hard for me to get out and see everything, except for in the winter, of course. And I always like the it seems like there's a lot of things that the community does that supports either small businesses or a local food movement or just organizations too. We're involved with taking SNAP and WIC vouchers, and we're working with Heal Markets at the farm to help support people as well. And so it seems like Fort Wayne has a large support for anybody, not just, either the people who have the means to do it and they're kind of support, the rich people or the poor people. It really doesn't matter. It seems like everyone's kind of included in Fort Wayne's planning. And so it's always, there's a place for everybody, it seems like, in comparison to other places where, it's either, support one group or another and you can't support both type of thing.
For sure. On the other side of the spectrum, I wouldn't say like what's negative, but what I would maybe want to point out is what's something that Fort Wayne as a whole should be careful of to make sure they don't fall into something where you're like, well, that's not good.
I don't know. It's one of those things where you don't really think about it until you actually hear it. And then you're like, oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah. So it when you see it.
But I don't know of anything that's right off the top of my head.
Sure. Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. And
if there was something that was out there and glaring, you'd be like, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been working pretty nonstop for the last 2 weeks.
Why?
So I have no idea.
Because I want corn. Because I eat a lot of corn. Is that why? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and now that we're open, I literally only get Sunday off, and that's my only day. So
yeah. And you're not worried about what's going on.
Yeah. During the summer, I kind of lose contact with a lot of people, but
we understand.
Yes.
It's for a good cause, and that cause is corn.
Yep.
This show brought to you by corn. Eat it. It's good.
Yep.
And buy it.
But Hardee's Farm Market corn,
well,
of course.
That is kind of like a yes, for sure.
It's definitely a given.
Yeah, definitely a given. That's what I was saying. Yeah. So, okay. One last question. Well, it's a two-parter. One is regarding entrepreneurship. A lot of these vendors, we have over 350 vendors with the ylni Farmers Market.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. So, 350 people have said, I'm going into business for myself and I'm going to do something. But what advice would you offer if someone was not a vendor, not an entrepreneur quite yet, but they really had a good idea, they were really wanting to get started, and they weren't sure, and they're sitting right here in front of you now? What would you tell someone who's looking to get started?
Well, over the years, being down at Bar Street, I have seen companies come and go, startups come and go. And there's a lot of things why a startup doesn't work out. Most of the thing is just life in general. Gets a little hectic and it's hard to balance.
Sure.
But it's always, you have to put in the work to really, if you want it to succeed, you really have to put in the work to keep it going. Because it's really easy just to, you hit a roadblock and then you just stop. Or something comes up and it's just not worth your time. And so I've been through, plenty of roadblocks, and it seems every summer, every single Saturday, we are down at the market. And it is tough, especially since I've been doing this for years. And towards the end, I might not be as bubbly and friendly to everybody as I can be. But, that's just because I've been there nonstop. So that's the kind of the thing I would suggest is really power through some of the things that are making you hesitate and question whether you're doing it right or not. And if you really want to make it work, then as long as you put in the work and effort, then it works really well. And especially down at when you're directly in front of a customer or something, just interacting with them, whether it is weird or awkward or, if you're not used to it, And if they don't even buy a product, at least they recognize you, and then in the future you might be able to get them to buy from you. But at that time, just make a connection. Making connections are really good, and especially if you're starting out. And so just kind of work through the hard times, make those connections that when you can, whether it's customers or other businesses, and they go a really long way.
I like that you said work through the hard times, and you didn't say if there are hard times, because it is to be assumed that there's going to be the hard times. But yeah, you got to know that that's coming and power through.
Oh yeah, like
for sure.
This year we had 3 Saturdays of rain straight, and so it's one of those where it's like, is it worth my time doing this?
Right.
But for us, if we're not there, then it really is hard for us. And even Bar Street, since they were starting in July when we first started, or they were matched up with our season, and then when they went to May, which I encouraged them to do so too, then we had to force ourselves to start another part of our business, which are our greenhouse and plants. So we hit that roadblock, and then now we have a greenhouse at the farm that we sell hanging baskets and stuff at the farm.
Wow.
And so because of Bar Street and some other reasons, we've expanded our business because, we have to be down at Bar Street, and we can't just come in later. So
thanks to Mitch, we are open May instead of July. I like that.
Probably not most of my idea, but they were asking, and I said, it's like, we'll just make it work, and we made it work. Because our business at that time was start in July when we have sweet corn, and that is our season.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, last question. You ready?
Sure.
Put your seatbelt on. If you were to rent out one of those planes that wrote in the sky, and the reason I say that is because it's big enough for the entire city to see, and it was one message, and the mayor commissioned you to write the message. Now, it doesn't have to be about the farm per se, but it's going to be seen by the entire city. What's it say?
I'm a simple person on that, so I would just say hello to everybody. And so then that way everyone just a lot of times just saying hello is the scariest part, especially if you're meeting someone new. So There you go. Just saying hello, and then that way you get that done and over with, and everybody can just have a conversation.
Yeah, it starts with an hello. And when you're a vendor at the market, you see vendors who are more willing to speak to people before they're even fully approached at their spot. And then you just start engaging, and whether you get a sale at that point or not isn't necessarily the goal, but just to make them feel welcome. And then honestly, over 50% of the time, don't they buy something then anyway, once you get them to engage, and it's like, oh, you have this. Yeah, let me get some of that. I mean, so no, that's great. That totally makes sense. So again, you can always find Mitch in the footprint, that very first footprint. You were part of the first, 10 to 15 vendors. Yeah,
we started out with 1 booth, and now we have 4. And so, we're in the courtyard on the southeast side underneath the awnings. But you can always find us at the farm as well. We're on the southwest side of Fort Wayne. We're on 4525 Knoll Road. It's between Smith and Ardmore, kind of where the old Elmhurst High School used to be. But unfortunately, it's gone now.
Right.
Yeah.
The Elmhurst Trojans. Yep. Okay, so find Mitch on Saturdays from 9 to 1 at the ylni Farmers Market.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Coraggio Media. The show is edited by me and sponsored by the ylni Farmers Market. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest updates. We will see you next week, where we will be sure to show you how you can enjoy Fort Wayne.